Yeah, thanks. My name's Jürgen. I'm heavily involved in an open source project called Keptn, which I will talk about briefly today. I work for a company called Dynatrace, which was initiating this open source project. And for today, I want to briefly show you what you can do with Keptn on Civo, and also kind of related to the whole ecosystem, because everything I've heard really relates also to how Keptn got into the marketplace, into the Civo Marketplace. So first, what is Keptn? I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. Keptn is now a cloud native computing foundation project. It's in the sandbox state, and it's part of the, let's say, CI/CD space. And it's really an event-based control plane for continuous delivery and automated operations. It's kind of a long sentence, there's a lot of buzzwords in it, but the important part is it's not another continuous delivery solution, but it's really more a control plane where you can plug in your continuous delivery solutions that you might already have, or use the capabilities of Keptn to do it. And it's also a control plane for automated operations. So think of automated operations, something like triggering some remediation actions, triggering self-healing actions in case something goes wrong, and Keptn is receiving events. So Keptn can then trigger other actions as counter-actions for those events. It's event-based in the sense that it will receive cloud events, but not events in the sense of Kubernetes events, but it's just like JSON or YAML events. It can receive and then act upon these events. I've sketched here like a little bit how conceptually Keptn works. It's being this control plane. It has its own configuration service, so everything in Keptn is GitOps based. It has services for deployment. It can trigger testing services. It has its own evaluation service. So after Keptn was triggering tests in your continuous delivery workflow, then Keptn will evaluate the service quality and can then give you a score if it should be promoted or not, the new version of your application. So it's really something that relates to what was said in the first part of this webinar today. It tries to make the developer's life easier without having you to write all this pipeline code. Keptn comes with an opinion way to do it. It just gives you a CLI and you can work with the CLI. There's no need to write any pipeline code. A lot of things are already baked into Keptn. So why would you want to use Keptn? First of all, because it really makes your life easier as a developer. If you want to check the quality of your service, we have automated quality gates within Keptn, and these are based on SRE best practices. I will show you an example just on the next slide. It comes with multi-stage delivery pipelines. So if you think of having multi-stage delivery like in dev, pre-production, and production, that's basically 3 lines of configuration in Keptn. You would just define you would like to have dev, pre-production, and production, and you would define which kind of deployment strategies, if you want to directly deploy, if you want to have blue-green deployments, these kinds. It's just like one YAML file of configuration, and the actual pipeline code will be generated by Keptn or is part of the Keptn framework. And it has this automated remediation functionality. So in case Keptn receives alerts from the alert manager, from Prometheus, or alerts from other monitoring tools, it can automatically send out notifications to automation tools to trigger some remediation actions. So how are these quality checks done in Keptn? I just want to highlight this because it's a very central part of Keptn. Before I show you how to install it in the Civo Marketplace, I just want to make to stress this a little bit, how we are defining quality, service level quality inside Keptn. And we are using here site reliability engineering concepts. We are using mostly 2 different concepts. The first one is the service level indicator, and we can think of it as a metric, something like the error rate of the login requests, for example. So it's a very clear defined metric. And the SLO would be some goal, some objective for this metric, like the error rate of login requests within the last 10 minutes is only allowed to be a maximum of 2%. So we allow 2% of errors within the last couple of minutes. So with this, we define some quality checks, and in our multi-stage delivery, we can always check when we want to move the new version of an application from one stage to the other. We will check if the quality is satisfied and we'll block it, or we will open up the quality gate and move it to the next stage. So how can it look like? First of all, by making developers' life easier, Keptn has a built-in library of all the service level indicators, like the error rate, the response time, the throughput. So you don't have to worry about writing PromQL or API calls to any monitoring solution. Keptn has a built-in library for a couple of those already. So for you, they're easy to reuse. And then you define some objectives upon this. And objectives might be something like this. The error rate is only allowed to be the maximum of 1, or the number of database calls between two different checks of the quality gate is only allowed to increase by +2%. So in this way, you can write your quality gate for this multi-stage delivery. And when you have Keptn and you start using Keptn, you can trigger this evaluation, and Keptn will reach out to all the data providers that you have configured, like Prometheus or Dynatrace or Neoload or JMeter also. So we have seen a couple of those already provided by the Keptn community. Sorry. Then Keptn will reach out to those providers. We'll create a score for each of those SLOs, and we'll come up with a total score, which basically defines if the total evaluation, and you can think of it, you might have hundreds or at least tens of different service level objectives. Keptn will come up with a total score and will give you back this total score. So that's a very powerful but yet simple concept of this quality gate, and everything is based only on these two files, the service level indicators and the service level objectives. And you can make use of this by just installing Keptn from the Civo Marketplace. And here, first of all, a big shout out to the open source community, because Keptn was initially not contributed by the Keptn team, but it was actually contributed by the open source community. So the open source community was contributing Keptn to the Civo Marketplace. And I was just picking this up and improving a little bit. But so big shout out to the open source community from both projects. I think it's great to see these communities really engaging with open source projects. So Keptn is now listed in the CI/CD section of the Civo Marketplace. And just by clicking on this and clicking on the Create button, you will get a new cluster and with Keptn already installed. And I have to say, it's really the advertised experience that really works. So I was really surprised how easy it is to contribute, first of all, to the Civo Marketplace, but also how to use it. So once you use it, we have a couple of post-install steps. That's exactly the same way that we've heard in the first presentation. This is basically the README file that will be presented on the Civo Marketplace, on the Civo website, where you have your Kubernetes cluster, and it will give you some of those instructions. So first, you would need to have the Keptn CLI on your local machine. You would connect the Keptn CLI to the Civo or to Keptn running in Civo, and you can then open up the Keptn's UI, or you can just check out the Keptn tutorials or documentation how to use Keptn. And what I did during the webinar here, I'm not sure if it actually changed to my terminal now. Can you see my terminal? Yeah, cool. So what I did in the background during this webinar, I just created, a couple of minutes ago, I created my Civo cluster. And what I will do is, actually I need this here. So I have my new Keptn cluster. I have the basic applications installed, but also Keptn. And I can just copy, I already downloaded the Keptn CLI, but I just copy all the instructions, which will make it possible for me to authenticate to my Keptn cluster. And I can then open up the Keptn first I get the password, and so it will just generate a random password, and I will just, sorry for being a little bit fast here, but it's just that I can show you this. We can just open up the Keptn bridge, and it was really just installed a couple of minutes earlier on my fresh Kubernetes or cluster. So there are no projects yet, but with this, you have a Keptn installation. It took about, for the cluster to come up and Keptn installed, it took about 2 minutes. And you have a fresh Kubernetes cluster with our Keptn app installed on the Kubernetes cluster. And then you can check out Keptn, following the tutorials or docs, how to create the project and set up a multi-stage delivery. Because when you're developing applications, you might not want to push every application directly to production, but instead you want to have quality checks before you push it to production. And these quality checks and this multi-stage delivery can be done by Keptn. So as said, the Keptn application to the marketplace was contributed by the open source community. So again, thanks a lot for this. And we are happy to receive some feedback. If you like it or if you think it should be improved, we are very eager to hear your feedback. Either on Twitter, it's Keptn Project, or check out our tutorials. We are also in the Civo Slack. We have our own Slack, so there are multiple ways to reach out to us. And as said, it's also an open source project. So if you think you want to contribute also to Keptn, feel free to do so. We are really happy to receive contributions. Yeah, and with this, I'm giving back and then happy also to answer some questions.
Thanks, Jürgen. A quick question for me. What language is Keptn written in?
Most of it's written in Go, and the UI is written in Angular.
Okay. It's just in case anyone wants to help to know which languages they need to have experience of.
Yeah, sure. Most of it's in Golang. Yeah.
Cool. I actually have a question about Keptn from Ayan Satomi. How does Keptn scale in large-scale projects? Let's say Chromium, which spans up to 10 sub-projects and requires each component in its own CI pipeline in LUCI. Never heard of that one. Does Keptn scale well on this kind of situation?
Yeah, it scales because you don't have to write any pipeline code. So if in Keptn, we consider like we have one project. The project, we can think of the application, and then we onboard more services, which are the microservices of this application. And you define a lot of the, like how many stages you want to have, like pre-prod, hardening, prod, whatever. You define this on the project level. So you would define one project, and all the services that directly inherit this project configuration. So they will all be treated in the same way. They already receive this information that they have to be deployed through a couple of different stages. They have to execute some load tests. They have to satisfy some quality criteria. So you can define a lot of it on the project level and not on all the microservice level. This was exactly what we've seen with all the different Jenkins pipelines, copy and pasted hundreds and hundreds of times. And that's one central part that we want to try to solve with Keptn.
Okay,